Okay guys, it's time to extend an actual Codeigniter library. So let me do this first. Let's go to our config folder and let's go to config. And we might have to scroll down a ways. I already know what I'm looking for. It's called subclass prefix. And basically this is a prefix we use to extend the Codeigniter core libraries. And the reason we do this is because if we had a class named form_validator and there's one in the core, there's going to be a conflict of interest. So you can change this to anything you want, but I personally like to leave it just by default. If you decide to change it, just make sure you change the name of your class and file name. So we are going to head over to this libraries folder, and it's empty. Let's create a new PHP file. I'm going to call this my. Remember the prefix, and then the name of the class we're extending. Our class was form validation. Okay, and I'll delete this stuff, and we'll say class. And we need to use the same casing we used in the config file, which was a capital my. Remember, if you decided to change yours maybe to your initials or something, go ahead and do that. Just make sure it's in the config. And we need to say my form validation extends CI form validation. Now notice how the V is lowercase. I'm following the same convention as Codeigniter. Keep it safe. And we're going to need a public function construct so that when it's instantiated, we need to construct him, the regular form validator, so we can inherit all his goodies. And I'll say construct. Now with form validation, you can pass in a configuration value on the construct. I'm not going to go into big details about this, but let's just put config equals array, and down here we'll just pass in config. Okay. So you remember when we were doing our registration, I'll open up console with Control-Shift-I, and I register, and our data is all this in paragraphs. I want an array of errors because it'll be easier to loop through in JavaScript. So let's make another method. I'll say public function error array. I do wish this was included. I'm not sure why it's not. So we'll return this error array. Now I already know internally that Codeigniter has an error array from this class because I investigated it quite a while back, and I don't know why there's not a getter for it. So we're going to check if it's empty. So I'll say if count this error array is greater than 0, we will return it. And it looks like I missed a parenthesis like that. If count, this is not supposed to be a method, actually. This is a property. So don't let that throw you off, because it just about threw me off. And that needs an underscore. So let me pause a minute. I got a little excited and typed that too fast. This is a protected property belonging to the actual core class, not a method. Okay, so make sure you do underscore error underscore array, not a method, so no parentheses, and we're going to return that. Okay, so that's good, and that automatically loads. So I can close him out, and I'll go back to our controllers under user, and register. Here it is. Go to your register function, and when we run it, instead of getting validation errors, we're going to get this form validation error array. So I'll delete here and paste it in there. So let us try again. I'll just register, invalid login, and look at that, we have a nice array of data. Let's head back to our thingy here. So we have that working quite nicely. And we want this all to happen before we even handle this post data inside of this form. Now, we could even put this down here. We could put the input post login here. I'm not going to do that. And I don't suggest doing that personally. Anyways, let's go to our view, our home, and our register view. And let's see the register form right up here. Let's do a div class equals alert dash error. Okay. And I'm just going to put an HTML tag in here that says dynamic. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to copy this alert there. I almost want to give it a different class name. I'm going to also add in an ID, I think. ID equals register form error. The reason I'm doing this is because if I use jQuery to toggle visibility of this class with alert, if I have more than one alert going on, maybe in the future, I'm going to have some serious problems. So an ID will solve that issue. So, to the bottom of the page, my friend. And the first thing we want to do is hide it. So let's hide it like that. Make sure you include your pound sign. Okay. And instead of an alert here, what we're going to do is dot show, and we're also going to add HTML to it. And we have to build a loop. So I'll say for var I equals 0, I is less than O dot, and here's where it comes in. Let's go to the page, and right now I have data. I kind of want to pass that as an error tag rather than a data tag. So I think we'll change that in the user, because data sounds like it's something good. Okay, so error dot length I plus plus, and let's see, we can make our own elements in here. I'll do a UL, so I'm going to make a var called output equals UL, and I want to make sure I type it right. And then output is the end of the UL. Make sure you don't put var in front of any other output. And since I want to append to this, I'm going to put plus equals. Okay. So now I'll say output plus equals O dot error I. Now, this is not a correct loop, and I'm going to show you why. So we'll refresh the page. Since we updated the JavaScript, we have to. It's empty. And the reason being is because if we actually look at this, this is an object. Even though we passed it as an array, it's coming back as an object because it has a key value pair. When it has a key value pair, it can't be enumerable. I hope that makes sense. So we have to do it a little bit differently. We have to do a for loop still, but we'll say for I, we'll say for var I in O dot error. Let me get rid of this stuff. Okay, and let's say O dot error, and then in our brackets I. So this is the key, console.log key, and let's see what we get. And I have to refresh, register, and go to console. It says the login field is required. That's actually the value, not the key. My mistake. So key is I. Key is I. That's right. I is the key. So var key. and value will be o.error key. Sorry about that. So say var value equals that, and let's do output plus equals. We'll do an li tag, and we'll say plus to append it, plus key. Okay, this looks a little crazy. We're concatenating the strings, and then we'll say value. Sorry about that loud noise, it was my ring. And I'll go ahead and refresh the page, register. Oh, we didn't get anything. Did I not we didn't insert it into the DOM. So sorry. So let's grab this guy, and I'll say HTML will be output. Go back, refresh, register. Boom, there you have it. You don't have to put in the key there. I did it to show you. So I'll go ahead and get rid of the key. So it'll just be like this. Now what this does is it gives you flexibility to customize your stuff how you want. Okay, so let's go back to the user here. So we got all our errors taken care of. When a user is created, it's going to insert it into here. Okay, and what we're going to do is check if the user ID is successful. So here is user ID. So if there is a user ID, we're going to set the session. We already went over this, and I'll change this value to user ID, and the result is 1, and it returns false. Otherwise it's just going to say result 0. Let me throw something in here that says error on user not created. Okay, so we should be able to get into the dashboard after we register a user. So I'll say my login is Jesse, my email is test@test.com, my password is dog1, and my confirm is dog2. Beautiful, the passwords don't match. Instant validation. So I'll change this to dog1, register, boom, I'm in dashboard. Now I'm officially a user. And log out, and that was Jesse and dog1. Check that out. So if I go to my database, refresh, there's Jesse. Now these are all test rows now, they can be deleted. Now we have our safe little guy there. Let me go back to the code and just check one more thing. Result 1, the session's set. Okay, let's try another thing. Let's say Jesse, enter. Cool, login field must contain a unique value. Let's try test@test.com. Must contain a unique value. Good. That'll prevent duplication. Isn't that beautiful how easy it is to now validate? I realize you're probably just getting started with all this, so it might seem very confusing, but once you're used to it, it saves you a lot of time, guys. And that'll wrap up this video.